Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Nuscale Power. It is time for another update and it seems we have finally completely broken our area of support for the white interpretation, and it is really telling us that we need to be prepared for more bearish structures to occur. Now, does it need to be the yellow interpretation? I can tell you no, it doesn't. And even within the yellow structure, I might be looking for a more substantial bottom to form sooner rather than later, yeah, once we complete this extension, this structure that seems to be forming this extension to the downside. But there will still be substantial risk and we will still need to be waiting for more clear evidence that a bottom would form even once that structure actually completes, because even then, this wave 2 might be getting an extension. Now, we will of course have relevant levels of resistance to track along the way, and currently the way I see it, while it is still technically possible for this to be just an overshoot to the downside and still be working out on our yellow interpretation where we are looking to go in our wave B to higher prices, starting at the $24 level is the area of resistance, up to the $42.4 level. It is possible to still be within this wave B. We could be getting an overshoot in a wave B in a larger A, B, C pattern. Do not rule that out, although I would have to focus on continuation to lower prices and only really consider that scenario once we break relevant levels of resistance internally. Now, what do I consider to work out at this point? So before we actually get into that, I want to show you the smaller time frame, the signals that we were going to fail holding the area of support and that we were going to extend to lower prices. And here we had these smaller time frame structures. So firstly, we have pushed initially below our area of support, the 78.6% retracement within this small time frame. That was our first signal that this structure wasn't going to hold. It wasn't a very sustained break, but it was decently substantial. And we did recover quite nicely afterwards, but we had then the requirement to build an initial 5-wave structure to still be able to trust this pattern to take us to even higher prices. And for that, we had the 50% retracement here in white for this 5-wave pattern to work out. We required that before breaking the 50% retracement at the $16.2 level, we would want to see an additional high within this area. The break below the 50% retracement was the signal to us that this structure was going to fail. It's never a guarantee, we don't deal with predictions here, but the probabilities strongly suggested this structure to the upside was not going to manage to build a reliable pattern. It was only going to be a corrective structure in an ABC movement to the upside, and that we would need to be prepared to fail holding in the end the area of support in white. We did already break it, it was the first signal. And probably like 70-80% of the times when we break the area of support, we do a revisit, we do a recovery rally. But 70-80% of the times we probably end up failing holding it afterwards. Yeah, the same thing really happened here. On a large time frame, we pushed below the area of support, not even a sustained break, even less sustained than in the case of this extension to the downside, I would say. We recovered back above it, and we failed to hold it once again. It is suggesting we are going to even lower prices still. Now, we can entirely remove this white interpretation at the moment. It's not really trustworthy, I would consider, and yeah, we can actually even remove these entire groups, and even from the larger time frame, and I would actually like to focus more on the internal structure within this area while only keeping this yellow interpretation on the chart at the moment. Now, before we actually get into the details, the new updates, I wanted to briefly mention our channel newsletter. The link for that is in the description. You will get access to our monthly top picks, opportunities where you will not be looking to create substantial risk, opportunities where you will be very close to the invalidation, to the zone where probabilities shift, such as on this chart. We had the 78.6% retracement at the $15-something level to signal to us we would end up failing holding the broader structure. We would end up failing creating the next wave to the upside in a certain pattern, minimizing risk, minimizing loss. Now, you can find a link for that in the description. It is completely free. And if you enjoy the content and you want to support us, you can check out our channel membership. You can find the link for that in the description as well. And you will get access to additional content, and it really helps us out a lot. Now, back to the chart. Here within this wave to the downside, we have been considering in this orange structure a possible extension to lower prices. Now, whether this is a wave C in orange, whether it is a wave A in yellow, doesn't really matter. We are looking at a 5-wave pattern within a diagonal structure to form within this area. We already had the possibility of a complete pattern in this structure, but now we are looking at an extension, and while we broke the area of support for a supposed extension within a 5th wave here, briefly, I would probably focus that we would still get an extension, but within this being the actual wave 3 bottom, having this as a wave 4 top and a 5th wave extending within this area. Now, I would have the same expectations for this wave A in yellow, yeah, nothing too different, but I would actually like to still track within the yellow structure the possibility of having an overshoot in this latest development, in this latest extension to the downside, and the possibility to still look for higher prices within a wave B, while in the orange structure to focus on continuation to lower prices. Now, for this wave 4 in orange, we can even notice we have pushed into the 38.2% retracement. This is the ideal target for a wave 4. In the 5th wave that follows, we are now looking at an ABC structure to form before we would be looking for a more substantial bottom to be in place. And this has a couple of options in which it could form, doesn't need to be as clearly divisible to have here an ABC structure such as this. It could be more along the lines of something like an ABC structure that could form a bottom sooner rather than later. But I would still need to focus on the relevant levels of resistance and try to identify a potential initial 5-wave move to the downside that would even suggest continuation within a next wave to the downside after a correction. Now, I firstly also want to remove this larger structure we are tracking in this wave Z. It doesn't really matter, we could be tracking exactly that structure if I were to consider the wave 1 top in yellow to be here. Instead, I could be looking at either count. To be honest, I will be in the end determined by the levels of resistance being broken and the structure on whether it is one count or the other. Now, in this internal structure, once again, I will be trying to identify an initial 5-wave move to the downside, and here I might be looking at a wave 1 down, a wave 2 up, a 3rd wave down, 4th wave up, and then a 5th wave. Now, the thing is, with this structure to the downside, I cannot rule out possible extensions within this wave 3, but I would prefer to focus on a more relevant area of resistance that would actually tell me, if broken, that something more bullish, at least here within the very short term, within this wave B in yellow, might be going on instead. And for that, I would be watching here the 61.8% retracement that would assume a more substantial bottom would be already in place within this wave 3. And I will be tracking this within a blue structure because in this orange structure, I will even consider the possibility of having an ABC structure that could form a bottom sooner rather than later, and to be honest, I might even be able to look for the next wave B to the upside, although that will not be a high probability expectation. Now, within our focus, this area of resistance in blue is at the levels between the $15.16 all the way up to the $17.9. The last level of resistance is very much in line with the structural resistance we have formed across this extension to higher prices. If we are to extend directly to higher prices, I would expect this last level to be rather difficult to break within this smaller time frame perspective. It's not a must, it's still within a very small time frame, but it would be suggested to us by the structure that it would be probably one of the more difficult levels to actually break. Now, how could we be looking at extensions to even lower prices? So, within a wave C in this area, I could consider this to be potentially a 1, 2, 3, and I will expect a 4 and a 5 to complete this structure. It would be only an ever so slight adjustment to the area of resistance we would be tracking in that case, and we would be looking at the $17.8 level instead for a signal that the structure is not going to work out. So you see, it's not really relevant at this point to consider that this wave 3 would still be extending and to have multiple counts within this structure. In the end, I will be focusing on this blue extension in an initial 5-wave move to the downside within this wave A, And even if we break this area of resistance, we will still be at risk to form a larger wave B and then extend in a wave C to the downside still to new lows that I would then expect to complete this structure. Now, it is definitely within a difficult pattern in this area. Even if we form the initial 5-wave move to the downside, here the 4th and the 5th, I could not rule out the possibility of having this as the actual 5th wave, in which case the count would be full, but I do not want to make too many assumptions. We will need to be a little bit more respectful of the levels of resistance and support on this chart within the current situation especially, because they are going to be our guide. At the moment, even this internal structure that I would consider to be a potential wave C, I would like to see another low ideally in a 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5, nothing too special. And it's not even going to be something I would recommend tracking an area of resistance for. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.